Okay, I guess it's up to you.
Thank you. My name's Eric Shems. I'm the second assistant chief on the Fairfield Fire Department. I live over on the Peon Road. Lived in town for about 18 years. Served on the fire department for the last 16 years. Some of the other members of our department are here, and I'd like to take a moment to introduce them before we talk about a proposal that we have for the selectmen. So this is James Constantino. He's our secretary. Damian Boomhauer, he's our captain. This is Gino Farinaccio, he's a firefighter on our department. John Bouchard is a firefighter on our department. Kelly Raymond, who serves on the Fairfield and Sheldon Fire Department. He was the assistant chief for Sheldon for years. And Berkeley McNall, who is our current assistant chief. So our purpose for being here tonight is kind of twofold. We do have a proposal that we want to share with you. Involving some of the federal money that the town's going to be getting under the health and wellness ARP money. And we also want to provide you with an update. It's been a while since any of us have been to a select board meeting, and we do like to keep you guys sort of updated as to what's going on with our fire department. So there are a few of us that are going to share some information with you tonight, and we can certainly share this presentation with anybody that wasn't able to be here as well. So currently our fire department operates two stations, one in Fairfield, one in East Fairfield. We run two engines out of the Fairfield station. We've got a large pumper that we run for structure fires, and we got a four-wheel drive pumper tanker. Over in the East Fairfield station, we run a pumper tanker and a tanker over there. And we've got two tankers sitting in this station as well. So we have 7 fire trucks, which sounds like a lot until you factor in that we have to bring all the water to the fires that we go to. It's very rare that we pull up to a fire and have a water source available that we can use. So when we pull up to a fire, we bring a little over 5,000 gallons of water with us. And we're calling other departments to truck in water. But I thought it might be okay just to start and talk about some of our resources. This is the cross-country team. They did a community service project at our station this summer to wash the trucks for us. So this year alone, we had 4 new members complete a 70-hour firefighter essentials course in Franklin County. You can see some pictures of the class. And then these are actually pictures of our team of firefighters training at the burn building in Fairfax. James Constantino and John Bouchard were a couple of guys who completed that course with us. Do you want to share anything about your experience with that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it was an absolutely amazing experience to partake in. And then also the commitment that comes from our team to go and do something like this was amazing as well. Not only from being a student, but also Eric and John Delviere, who was also a member of our department, taught the course. So the commitment that goes into them was amazing and should be commended as to how much we all put into it. The experience that we gained, the camaraderie that we gained out of it as well, definitely brought a lot of us closer and gave us some more training that will help us when we go to attack another fire and to just work as a team and know our role more than anything when we're on the scene.
So what did you say they were now, 70 hours instead of 40?
So this is the essentials course. To earn the state level certification, it's now up over 200 hours. So what Franklin County's done is they put together what they thought was a reasonable length of a course so that we can certify firefighters as interior firefighters. So the selfish side of this is Fairfield gained 4 interior firefighters. So when we go to a structure fire, the protocol is 2 in and 2 out. So that was a big gain for us.
So you have to go through the course before you're certified to go interior?
Into a structure, absolutely, yep.
How many of the department or the volunteers are certified interior currently?
So currently approximately half of our roster, we have a 25-member roster, and about half of them are certified as interior firefighters, and the other people on the department we utilize for exterior operations, running pumps, driving tankers, and getting our water source, wherever that may be, up and running.
Is there an annual or like, is there you gotta get a currency after a certain amount of time or?
So we train monthly in our department, and that allows us to stay current. We also take classes throughout the state. There's a Franklin Lamoille Fire School that's offered annually, and then there's ongoing courses through the state of Vermont that people can take sort of when it fits their schedule. So this year alone, we responded to 52 calls. This is the highest number of fire calls ever in Fairfield, which means we're out roughly once a week. We hosted the dragger trailer course for the Firefighter Essentials right here in the center of town. You may have seen that earlier this fall. And we continue to maintain a roster of 25 members. We haven't increased our budget in the last 4 years. We've tried to be fiscally responsible, and as a department, we have zero debt. There's no outstanding debt for the department. Our members spent combined 437 hours at fire calls this year alone. We've been averaging somewhere between 8 and 13 people per response. If it's a structure fire, it tends to be higher. But this includes running medical calls and motor vehicle wrecks and things of that nature. The 437 hours does not include training or community service. That's just when we get toned out and we're out with the trucks. If you include training and community service this year, that number would easily be double. We host monthly trainings that are well attended. These are some pictures in the station where we're doing some vehicle extrication. We remove the roof on that vehicle, the doors, and perform a dash roll right inside the station. That vehicle was generously donated to us by our fire chief, Tim Corey. We cut up his old truck last winter. We attended some trainings learning how to set up a landing zone. You can also see another training that we had where we learned how to use and practice rescue jacks. So when we're in an emergency situation, we can actually lift a car off the ground, cut the roof off of it, and remove people who are trapped that way. So we have that kind of equipment for vehicle stabilization as well.
You have the rescue jacks then?
We do. Yep, but that's our equipment. Yep. We do annual CPR, some light first aid and AED training. We just finished a week ago doing high performance CPR with AmCare. They brought their training dummies up, and we finished that, and we'll do the second half of the certification at the beginning of February, on February 3rd. Our training in action. So this past summer, this is in Fairfield. We landed a helicopter up near Pumpkin Village Road. There was an ATV accident with a young man that was pretty banged up, a young man from Cambridge. They flew him out. To my knowledge, he's made a full recovery, but it was kind of touch and go when we pulled up. It was a pretty tricky situation. We were able to have our personnel assist AmCare, take care of traffic control, clean up the accident scene, all while we had officers and other people setting up a landing zone so we could land a helicopter up here. And we were very lucky to be able to utilize that resource. This is in Bakersfield, at a Bakersfield campfire. One of the things that we have that other towns call us out for is our four-wheel drive pumper. So when we've got dirt roads that are kind of sketchy or muddy, certainly in the wintertime, the town of St. Albans calls us when they have driveways that they can't get fire trucks up. We've got a truck that'll go just about anywhere. And that's why we got called out to Bakersfield. They couldn't get their engine up the road. We went up there and provided manpower and water supply for them. This is just last weekend at the Playful Sugar House. 10 degrees below zero, strong north wind blowing. The two firefighters that you see right there operating that hand line are two of our brand new guys that just completed the Firefighters Essentials course. That's Nick Jetty and Riley Magnan. And this again was last weekend at the Sheldon Garage Fire. So we're responding to a wide variety of calls, whether it's medical emergencies, car wrecks, and we try to be prepared for just, a little of everything. Damien, do you want to talk about the work we've been doing with the school?
Yeah, pretty much ever since Joe Beaudry retired, we took on doing the training at the Fairfield School. It's pretty much we go in there for the more like the K through second. We show them, or pre-K through first actually. We show them what we look like with our gear on, with air tanks on, just so that way if there is a fire, They know what we look like, they're not gonna be scared of us, you know, kinda look like Darth Vader almost. Another thing we train them is to be aware if their fire alarm is going off, and if their door, you know, put the back of your hand against the doorknob or against the door to feel if it's hot. Just little things of crawling, putting a blanket outside the window, just because, you know, that's not a very typical thing to see a blanket on the outside window, so we know that somebody is in there. The fortunate thing, the last couple times, we've had the smoke trailer. So we have kind of a live action room where it has a fog machine that sets off the smoke alarm. So they have to wake up, get out of bed, go check, like I just said, go check the door, crawl out of the window, and use kind of like a fire ladder to get out of the trailer. And we also had this year for the first time for I think it was 6, 7, 8, wasn't it?
Yep.
We had a fire extinguisher training. So what it is it's a machine, or it's a small trailer with live fire, and they have a fire extinguisher, and they learn to go at the base of the fire to put the fire out. Because we kind of just figure when they're at that age, they're kind of getting responsible enough where maybe they could actually save their house, but also knowing their limits at the same time.
So, you know, this is what Fire Safety Day looks like for kids. They get pretty excited to see firemen come to class. We spend half an hour, 40 minutes in each classroom, you know, just going through the basics, the stop, drop, and roll. What do you do if you find matches, things of that nature. We bring some fire safety swag for all the kids. And we also do a program, if we go back a couple slides, where we do a coloring contest during Fire Safety Month. And we give 6 kids, 1 kid K through 5, a ride to school in a fire truck. So we pull up to school with the lights on, the kids are pretty excited about it. And, you know, we ask the teachers, you know, to nominate some kids that could really use a boost. So it's less about who can color in the best picture, and it's more about like a kid that could use a lift or a boost or a pump up, somebody that's going through a tough time. We give them a ride to school, we get to sit and eat in the cafeteria with them and have lunch. And it's a really nice day for the kids. And we think it's making a difference in the community in terms of the number of structure fires that we're seeing, and you know, not having people trapped in houses, and frankly, having kids harass their parents about changing batteries and smoke detectors is much more effective than anything that we could ever do.
Smoke detectors, exit plans, how to safely get out, where is your meeting spot for the family. It's a lot safer for us to pull up and know that everybody is in one central location as well.
I know that it's weird because my kids come home and bug me about it too.
Yeah.
Geez, I just changed my son's smoke alarms, and it's a 10-year battery now with a lithium battery.
Yep.
Like, man, that is sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, not many people realize that there is a life, you know, and expiration date on a lot of those too. And we talk about that in the training, you know, to bring it up to your parents, because a lot of times they think, set it and forget it, and you're done with it.
Right.
Right. As far as calls, we've had, here it is, it's only January 25th, and we've already had 5 this year.
Do that. Do that. There we go. Damien's done.
So one of the other things we've done when it's been hard to get certain items in the middle of the pandemic, you know, toilet paper, household staples, we've hosted pop-up events. And the purpose of these events, we've got a connection on the fire department. James works for Cisco and sells supplies to restaurants and has the capacity to get some of these supplies. But what we've done is we've set up these pop-up events, and we've used the money that we've raised with the pop-up events to help fund the food shelf over in East Fairfield. So in addition to, you know, responding to fire calls, you know, our organization through the pandemic has helped, you know, try to make lives for people in Fairfield just a little bit better when some things are hard to come by. You can speak more to that, James. Do you want to?
Sure, yeah, we successfully pulled off 3 different pop-ups out of the fire station there. And again, the whole idea was to supply our community with items that may be hard to find. At the time, you know, during the height of the pandemic, toilet paper, sanitizer, even some fresh items where people were just nervous to go out and scared. We had many people come up and just said, thank you for doing this. I'm recovering from cancer. I did not feel comfortable going out to the grocery stores. Just those type of comments that you get back from the community are amazing to make you feel like you actually did something great for everybody. Not one penny went to us. We made that very clear from the very beginning of doing this, that we did not want to take any of the funds. We felt it was just a community outreach on our part and social responsibility to provide that.
So for the past 6 years, since they started Trunk or Treat, we've been to Trunk or Treat every year. We block the road, bring our trucks with, have stuff to hand out to the kids. And, it's just another community outreach that's kind of become part of what we do as the fire department in this town. We take good care of our facilities. It may not look like it from that picture. That is the huge, enormous maple tree that fell on the East Fairfield Fire Station a couple summers ago. But the reason I included that was you guys didn't get any phone calls about that. When things happen and they need to get taken care of, we take care of it. It was a rather large insurance claim. The insurance adjuster couldn't get a tree service out there. And, I was on the phone with them and I said, I don't know what you want to do, but there's a hole in the roof and I've got guys that can get this tree off. A day later, there were 5 chainsaws and an excavator up there and a dump truck, and the tree was off the building. The building was sealed up and ready for the adjuster to look at it. So we do take good care of our equipment. This is one of the original fire trucks that the fire department purchased. We still own it. It's in running condition, and it is sort of one of the things we've rallied around and kept as part of the tradition in our town. It no longer responds to calls, but we do take good care of our facilities. So clearly at this moment, the fire department's in a growth phase. We're in a phase of the fire department in the town of Fairfield where we're building out our membership. We've got more interior firefighters than we've had since I've been on the department. And our hope is that we're going to leverage this in a way that allows us to build out the department to make it even better than it already is. So our proposal, one of the things that we're hoping to build out with our training is the use of air packs, SCBAs. This is what allows us to go into superheated environments and come back out when we're done. So one of the things that we're lacking right now is a costly item. It's a Cascade filling station. This allows us to refill our own bottles when we're done at fire calls or done with training. And we've never had one of these. We've had air packs for 20 some odd years. It's been very common in the fire service to use them. When we're done at a fire scene though, we need to drive to another station, sometimes at an odd hour of the morning, or come back in the next day and make sure those bottles get refilled. So we've put out some bids, and we know that there's some federal health and wellness money coming in, and we were wondering if this might fit into that category. So I want to tell you a little bit more about kind of what we're looking at. But what the Cascade system does is it's got 4 high pressure tanks, and then it's got a system that holds those tanks in a blast-proof chamber and pressurizes them for us. So those tanks are used in conjunction with an SCBA, and the capacity to refill our tanks allows us to train more. It's plain and simple. Right now, if we have an air pack training, we have to coordinate that with another department so that we can then go get the bottles filled. When we come back at 2 in the morning from a call and we've got to go in, even if we got to go in for a CO call, there's no smoke, no nothing, but you're in an environment where there's carbon monoxide, you want to be on air, and we've got to go get those tanks filled. So our thought is, as a department, perhaps we could use this federal money because it's not a burden on the taxpayers. We've stayed committed to not raising our budget for quite some time now. I think it's 4 years, it could be more. And we're wondering that, what the willingness of the select board might be to help us out with this purchase. We've done our research, we've gotten some quotes. We're waiting on a third quote right now. But currently, the quote that seems to be the best is one from Fire Tech, which would utilize a 10 horsepower compressor that could, fill at a rate of 13 CFM. And then we would have a cost that we would incur that we pay for out of our own budget to service the system. So depending on how frequently you use these systems, it's kind of like an oil change on your car. That sort of determines how many times a year it needs to get serviced. But we'd probably be in the $600 a year range is what we'd have to come up with out of our own budget annually to keep that system current and running. Do you want to tell us, Kelly, because you were the assistant chief in Sheldon, and you were there when you guys got one of these systems, what that was like?
So, I've been on Sheldon Fire there for pushing 30 years, and we had the same problem that Fairfield does right now. You go and you fight your fires, you do these little calls, stuff like that, and you take a little bit of air out of your bottles all the time, and you only have so many bottles that's per department or per truck or whatever. You want to make sure that these bottles are full all the time. Because if you get like a structure fire, like we couldn't go into platefuls there at the sugar house because I was fully involved. But you get some of those places there where you gotta go in, and if you only get a bottle that only has like 5 minutes left of air in it, you're looking at the average bottle, depends on how fast you breathe and everything there. So they can say that you got 30-minute bottles there, but you might burn through it in 10 minutes. Depends how irate you are. So, with like what Eric said there, you gotta make sure that they're full, and we had to outsource going to Enosburg or going to St. Albans City to get them full. That's kind of a pain in the butt. So we reached out, we were lucky enough to buy one through Kevin Smith's, because Kevin Smith Sports Center down here in St. Albans, they had one. We ended up buying their Cascade system, which we're still using today, and we've had that now 11 years or better, ever since we built our new station over there. And that there has benefited us very, very much. Because now we can get down to calls, we go back here, we top off everything, the trucks are clean, the hose put away, tanks are full, we're ready for the next call. And as of today, we upgraded that system over there, so that way there we can pressurize our bottles more to 4,500 PSI. Because the bottles range in different ones. So now, just with that being said, that's cost us a little bit of money, but it's paid for itself throughout the years. Because now we don't have to take the time to run out there after you run down and beat, like 2 o'clock in the morning to go to Enosburg, go to St. Albans, go to Sheldon, because we filled a bunch of bottles from Fairfield and Sheldon before. And this is a very beneficial thing. This is probably one of the most crucial things that we can get right now, because now we can control our air. So I mean, if you go other places, you gotta make sure that you're getting good clean air, because I mean, obviously the source is pulling in from outside. If you got trucks running out there, whatever, it's gonna pull that in, and you get that exhaust in your mask and your tanks, and then you're putting CO2 into your bloodstream. So, but something like this here, we can control it, and it really benefits the department a lot.
And you said that there's a handout somewhere that has this information?
I can share this whole presentation with you, and I've got copies of the quotes as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll give you my card before I leave if you want.
Perfect. Yeah, I can pass that along to you.
How long does it take to fill the tank here?
So this system right here, that's a great question. The systems that we're looking at would on average take about 5 minutes per bottle. You're adding air at a really high pressure to a bottle, so you can only add it so fast. The bottles physically get warm because of the compressed air that's going into them. So there is a limit on how fast you can fill them. But what this would do for us essentially is when we get back from a fire, we're stripping all the hose that we used off the truck because it's got to get dried out. The trucks get washed. Everybody takes their gear off. Gear gets cleaned up. And while all this is happening, if we could fill the bottles at the same time, have one person filling bottles, it means that somebody the next day doesn't have to do it, or somebody doesn't have to go out that night. And obviously, like, we could pay somebody to do it, we could hire this out. But we've had a long-standing tradition in Fairfield of no paid salaries on the fire department. There isn't a single paid salary on the entire department, it's all volunteer. And I think it's kind of important to us that we keep it that way.
You have to be certified to run that?
So part of the purchase agreement comes with training. So yeah, there's training that would go through, that we'd all have to go through to operate that equipment, but it's not super intense. It's, once you understand how the system runs, it's kind of like running an RO. Once you see how it's done and you understand what it's supposed to do, you can operate it. And it's got safety systems built within it, so you can't overfill and things of that nature. It's got blow-off valves and stuff like that, so you can't.
Those bottles have to be tested every 5 years or something?
So the bottles get hydrostatically tested every 5 years.
Yeah.
The bottles in the Cascade system get hydrostatically tested every 10 years. And really what they're doing when they're doing our annual service is they're changing the compressor oil and they're testing the air quality coming out of the equipment to make sure that it's safe. So there would be some other costs involved. There is wiring that needs to run up to this machine. This is our actual panel in the station. So the fire department would take on the cost of fitting up the electrical end of it. It is a 60 amp circuit to run that compressor. And both of those quotes included compressors that are single phase because we don't have multi-phase power at the station. So we estimated, we'd probably need an electrician there for a day, about $1,000 worth of wire and conduit to fit it up. And the department would incur that cost.
Is the breaker box big enough?
The breaker box is big enough, yep, and everything's open, so, we can run conduit right along the wall to get the power where we need it. That doesn't seem to be a big, cost driver
Put
problem.
it against the back wall probably.
That's what we're thinking, put it against that back wall, in between those pilings in the back. So, and we can either bolt it to the wall or the floor. So we'd have to be careful bolting it to the floor because there's radiant in there, but with our thermal imaging camera, we can see where the heat is and make sure we miss it. So the benefits to the fire department. Obviously, this equipment would allow us to fill bottles after calls. It would also allow us to fill bottles after trainings. So I do believe, as one of the officers on the department, that this is gonna allow us to train more. So after meetings, if people, wanna do minute drills, they can do minute drills, they can throw packs on in gear. A minute drill is, by state standard, you should be able to get your turnout gear on in a minute, and you should be able to have an SCBA that's sitting in front of you on your back with all the safety checks and be breathing air in a minute. So it would allow us to train whenever we want it and not have to align that training with other departments. And we'll no longer have to rely on other schedules. So these are local fire departments that will fill bottles for us. There's not one of them that's less than a 10-minute drive from our station. So a fair question if I was sitting in your shoes right now is why aren't we just writing a grant for this? Because that is like the magic word when you need funding for just about anything. The honest truth right now, the main funding source for grants is the AFG grants through the fire service. And this past year, they gave out 4 of them in the entire state. And I talked to a chief up in Derby Line that wrote 11 grants just for Derby Line. And they got nothing.
I think we might have written a grant for you guys last year, and we didn't get it.
Yeah, I think Jonathan wrote one.
Yeah.
And I think it was for exactly this.
Yeah.
So most of the federal money's going out west. If you follow the news, there's another fire burning out there right now. I think that's likely going to be the case for the foreseeable future. So, getting grant funding at the moment is insanely challenging. It's a lot of hours for very little return, which is why we wanted you guys to hopefully take a look at this health and wellness money and see if some of that might be available for the department. I'm sure you probably have a ton of people knocking down your door about this money in different ways that it could benefit this town. And as selectmen, it's your job to really do the best you can with the funds that you're given. And our great hope is that you at least consider this proposal and come back to us with any questions that you might have. Our members do this 365 days a year for 0 pay. And all they ask for in return is having good equipment to work with and high quality training. They're willing to train, they're volunteering their hours. There's some of the best people I know. There's not many people that get up at 2 in the morning and go help out one of their neighbors that they don't even know. So we're all certainly very proud to be part of this organization, and we want to thank you for your consideration. We appreciate all that you guys do on behalf of our town as well, and we open the floor to questions.
What's your timeline, or what do you expect? I mean, we've talked a little bit that we're gonna have a meeting and see what the regulation, you know, there's certain
Sure.
regulations that go with all this stuff, so. We haven't got into the fine details of
Seen
it
that, how does
yet.
that fit in?
So
I know Brian knows a little bit, cause he's gone through it from a different committee, but.
I think we're on your timeline. I mean, we're coming to you asking, so whatever timeline you're on is the same timeline we're on.
Your quotes are that good for a while then?
Anything right now is good for a month or two, and then that's about it. I don't think it matters if you're buying a car or fire equipment. So, but, you know, if something changes, I'm, with the number, I'm sure we could find a way to make it happen with the funds in our equipment fund if need be. So it's hard to predict. I think anybody that's selling anything right now will tell you it's gonna jump 5% or whatever in the next few months, and I think that just comes from nobody not really knowing what's gonna happen next.
Is there anything else you wanna throw in that bucket?
You know, honestly, we've got reliable trucks right now. We've got every member of our team outfitted with good turnout gear. We made some investments this year in radio equipment, that needed to, you know, that was 15 years old, that was time to be updated so we can operate on the VTAC channels now, and when they finish up the antenna upgrade on Georgia Mountain, there'll be a simulcast system set up, and we'll be able to operate on those simulcast channels as well. So I do believe that at the current time that this would be like one thing on our bucket list and would really allow us to take our training to the next level.
I mean, you think a workout's a workout, but until you put on the gear and on an SCBA and then lug around a 200-pound dummy, that's a workout. It's exercise. It's the way to train. It's the only way to train is fully geared up so that when the reality hits, you've trained under the real circumstances, or as real as possible. Realize this is specifically for this group of people, but it is for our health and wellness, so that we're prepared to respond when we need to, and we can train as close to realistically as possible.
Not only ours, but also our families.
Yeah.
You know, making sure we come back safe as well. And it's not necessarily just used for a fire either. I mean, it could be a multitude of different things that we need to put on those packs for. You know, if there's not just a house fire.
Tank, working on a tank.
Yep, in a silo or,
Yeah.
yep.
I think just a car fire, how much different nasty things are in a car now.
You know, and part of the training that we learned too is just the different type of materials that are used to build a house now, and how hard they get, how much more gas comes out of them because of the different materials, so it's a lot more toxic than what it would have been 20 years ago.
Something I didn't notice in Eric, I don't know if you wanna touch base on, is the fact of us making the initial, investment on the new air packs and.
So we did, the current SCBA's that we have, will be out of date as of, the beginning of February, and we've got new SCBA's on the way. We bought 9 new air packs for our station, which, represented about a $69,500 investment. So they're about $10,000 a shot with 2 bottles. So we did in addition to the radios this year, upgrade our air packs as well, which would no longer be in compliance with NFPA, the National Fire Standards. So we do have new air packs coming that will be good for another 20.
Is 9 sufficient?
So we run, so the way we set it up, we have three trucks that could be, you know, responding initially to a fire. So we've got the pumper tanker in East Fairfield, and we keep 2 air packs on that. We've got our 4-wheel drive mini pumper, we keep 3 air packs on that. And then anytime we get called to a structure fire, our other engine at the station, that is our main structure fire truck. And the air packs are actually built into the seats in that truck. So it's a 5-man cab. The 4 passengers can actually be seated with a seatbelt on and don their SCBA's while we're en route. So you can pack up on your way. So yeah, we will have what we need on each truck. Yep.
How's your annual report? You got a snapshot of that, you know, like we're putting together our annual report. I hope you got a fraction of what you just gave us in that PowerPoint in the annual report to the village?
We do. We
Town.
write a letter every year that explains, you know, kind of what we've been up to, the calls that we responded to and so forth. So
Yeah.
that will be in there, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can kind of get the sentiment of Tom and Gavin, and I think, you know, the board is, we've said that we're gonna have this discussion first meeting in February, or one of the 2 meetings in February. I can tell you right off the bat, I'm sure the board is sympathetic, you know, to what extent we'd have to talk about it. But I am intrigued, I have invested some time in seeing what is eligible, and this doesn't jump from what I've seen, but that's why this is a question. I'd love to challenge you, and it's not really tough to find,
Yep.
the eligibility. And they contradict themselves because they say it's really simple. Broadband, water quality, stormwater,
Yep.
broadband, it's a really small little list.
And there's some.
But then when you go into the details, they go into like digitized town records and but I didn't see anything, when you say health and safety, you know, we're very supportive.
Yep.
But let's collaborate
Sure.
in advance of the February meeting. You know, it's not gonna take, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns got reams of information,
Yep.
and Kathy's been, you know, Northwest Regional Planning, so we'll make a commitment to, you know, work together to make sure that we turn over every rock and see
Yep.
if we can exploit the statute to, you know, to meet. And I think this is a really timely presentation, because, you know, the board is purposefully kind of waited to get this kind of input, and it's really a good time that you came, and thanks for what you do, and I'm sure, you know, we're gonna definitely, you know, put our thinking caps to work together and see if we can't
It
figure
looks like it'd really be value added to.
We appreciate it, and we thank you guys for letting us show up and come and share with you what we've been up to, and we thank you guys for the work that you do for our town. It takes a lot of people to keep a town going, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you guys very much.
You're welcome.
We appreciate
They're all open
Thank you so much for coming, it's been very informative.
for all your good work and your dedication. I was there for a few years, so,
Yes, only a few.
just a couple.
I'll try to wrangle my son to come.
You got a son or a daughter?
How old do you have to be?
So we can take kids that are 16, and the 16-year-olds, we actually had a few 16-year-olds that took that firefighter essentials course.
Yeah.
So we can train them up through the course. They're welcome to come attend meetings and train with us.
Nice.
But we're always looking for people. So please send them our way. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We'll get out of here.
That's a mother.
Yeah, how old is he?
He's 16.
Oh.
He just got a job. He's
Yeah.
Great.
And he's,
Pretty good bunch of people to run with.
yeah, they seem pretty good. Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, right now, why do I go? No, I just wondered if anybody went.
Yeah, Dave, that's why he's not here. I don't know if Casey went too. Dave and Casey. You're all kind of on the outside.
Anybody that visualize.
Hey, Tim. Make it go.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna hang around.
Yeah, yeah.
Jake,
Yeah.
guess we gotta wait.
Do I need to wait or?
No, I don't. Is yours open or is it?
It's personal.
It's personal?
Yeah. It's got my time card and stuff and just personal stuff. Oh, it's executive.
For just a little bit, and then you can come back. I just, in case he has to get called to go to work, so. I'll make a motion that we go into executive session
Second.
for a personnel issue.
So it's, their version was, shall the legal voters approve the establishment of the Library Capital Reserve Fund by the Bent Northrop Memorial Library to be used solely for the library and deposit up to $5,000 of the 2021 library fund surplus into it, basically. And I think that the spirit is the same, it's less wordy. I haven't looked at the version that the auditors suggested, so,
And it's less wordy, the one that the auditors,
and this one hasn't been reviewed by the trustees. So this one is, where is it? It's spelled out. So shall the legal voters approve the Benton Northrop Memorial Library to establish a reserve fund called the Library Capital Reserve Fund to be solely used for the library and deposit up to $5,000 of the 2021 library fund surplus to the fund, to fund the capital reserve fund. So,
Now, is that different than what you just read right there?
How is
It's the
that
same
one-
as the third, yeah, it's the
how
same.
is that one different than the first one that you sent to me?
It's just a couple words at the end of it.
Shall the legal voters approve the Benton Northrop Memorial Library to establish a reserve
see if I've been working,
the library capital reserve fund to be solely used for the library and deposit up to $5,000 of the 2021.
do I not have the right version? 'Cause-
That's the one that we had originally this morning.
Oh, I was been working on a couple different pages, so.
So I didn't realize that there was a third version until I got here today, this evening, as in
From the
between-
auditors, you mean?
From the auditors, when, like during this meeting, I poked out and there was a third version. And she didn't know that I had connected with the library trustees to discuss this, and that they had already suggested a second version. So it became this wordsmithing issue. The library trustees feel that if their version at this point, because I was concerned that it went outside of the suggested, format of Vermont League of Cities and Towns, I said that if it and I really am not an expert in legalese, so I'm not sure if that possibly has to do with their version, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns version has to do with legally how it needs to be written in order for it to be correct. So, and I didn't have a lot of time to review, this all came to pass.
Why did the
last-
library want to change it? I guess what's,
I think because they felt that it was a little bit too wordy. I mean, it is pretty wordy, the way, when you combine the two, when we combine the two together, it becomes pretty wordy. The only difference is that it has an and in it, so if you combine the two articles together, it's this one very long sentence, and they were trying to make it shorter and less complicated for the reader. But what I don't know is if changing so this is, their language establishes a reserve fund, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns establishes the reserve fund, names it, and has a purpose for it.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I mean, I like less is more. I think it's easier for people.
I think that the spirit of the original is in there, and I do think it's easier to read.
Yeah, well, how about something like this? So, not that I want to add any more confusion, but you take the VLCT suggested language. Shall the voters establish a reserve fund to be called the Library Capital Reserve Fund to be used solely for the library and deposit up to $5,000 of 2020 library fund surplus in the LCRF?
This is the one that the auditor came, but
why would you put the 5,000 in the first one and just as long as you get it in the second article?
No, we're just trying to make
we
one
can only
article.
have
One
one.
article.
Original two.
Okay.
So this first
already rewrote
version
it.
is already revised from the one that we approved
Okay,
before.
okay.
And these are all the same, this is all the same article, just written.
I got you.
differently.
Okay.
Yeah, that is that the latest version?
that's the one
That's
I
the version that hasn't been.
That's the-
secured by
that's the version that Mary Steinberger came up with when she was reading them. I said, please, you're the English person.
That's I think it's pretty clean. I mean,
So the question is, do we, the problem that it, this politically, you know, having something on as an article that's been approved that's different than what the trustees originally had. I'm hoping, it's all the same. It's
Well,
all
no,
the
I mean,
same, but
you
it's
want,
the-
we can
I just
reapprove
don't-
that. I mean, it's, that's pretty,
But the thing, yeah, it's the,
what's that? What?
these are your articles.
Yeah, these are articles, yeah, so we'll just approve it.
But
So-
there's other articles on here, I mean, you guys have to approve all these articles, cause.
Okay,
So.
okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's go
So
through
is the
them.
version that hasn't been reviewed by the trustees, the one that we're going to, I haven't heard it yet.
It's the one we just read.
I think their intent was to make it cleaner.
Right,
This does,
this does.
yeah,
And-
it's really clean.
And more so than this, their version.
I think it's not yeah, it's not much difference. I think it's the
But that's
same.
the whole, all the articles, because the,
Shall the legal voters
Thank you.
approve establishing a capital reserve fund for the Bent Northrop Memorial Library and depositing up to $5,000 of the 2021 library surplus to this library capital reserve fund?
So
Which is just what they
basically
have.
the
That's what they
this is
have.
what they have. So why
Yeah.
don't we go with what the librarians, the library proposed, because it's almost exactly the same as that.
because this is written, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and
So-
I don't wanna make any more mistakes.
And the, well,
Yeah, but
just,
I mean, it doesn't, this is technically our warrant and stuff.
right,
so-
that's true, that's true.
So I think we'll just,
But
if this is, the three of us, I guess, approve it.
Yeah, what else? You wanna do, you got other articles you want us to review?
I want you to, now that, I'll make, 3 copies and have you, now that we have,
Has it changed, Linda, from,
yes.
okay?
So did we approve? the
No,
one-
I think we're,
Approving the one that was written as, on her version,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, unless there was some other concerns that they had. I mean, Peter seemed pretty,
Yeah, it all happened very late in the day.
today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was trying to have dinner.
Well, I think, like I say, I think, you know, the language that we have now is an improvement of what they had, which is the same, I mean, we're getting the same,
Okay.
yeah,
So I will mention that, I'll let them know that.
yeah. We did a little extra editing with our English expert.
Not me,
I know,
not
I'm
me,
including you though.
not me.
Sorry, I didn't get to bed too early last night, and then it wasn't a good sleep because my team didn't win. But they tried their damnedest, so
Okay.
I'm just tired.
Okay, so you wanna walk us through any
Okay.
changes? Article 1's the same, right?
Article 1 is the same. Article 2 is the same. 3, we just added the numbers. 4 is...
And no, excuse me, those numbers aren't changed from the numbers we've had previously?
We didn't have them in previously because I was waiting for, what was,
Is that the
Tax
top
and-
line number that we had?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Let me check.
It is. Here,
It is?
I actually have this for you.
I got those numbers from Kathy, so
So,
that's,
That's just gonna
so your final budget numbers, I tried to even.
Yeah, I think our number last time was 152, 1.525.
Okay, so the number that we have in our budget at this time, that's what it is. Sorry. Jeez. Why don't you move on to the next one, and I will make sure that I have those spreadsheets with
okay. So Article 4 is the change. That's the one that, Gavin said to get rid of last time, because you didn't need it, because you had made the motion, Brian, to do that at the last meeting of last year. And I'm being told it needs to be in.
Who told you that? Jonathan? Okay.
Well, wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking
It's
for
a-
something, are you telling,
No, it said the Article 4, that you only had to be back in the reallocating the funds.
I did look up what, again, it goes back to what state statute says. And I do have a document about that too.
Okay. We had a long discussion, so, I mean, it can't hurt to have it in.
If you don't want it in, it's absolutely your warrant, and, but I just.
We had a long discussion, Tom, about that, and it was kind of like past practice, and it was a discussion whether we did Article 4.
Right.
No, I was here.
Okay.
And the only reason that I requested it go back in for discussion with you tonight is because when I was reviewing the requirements, according to the state, it says that if you establish a capital reserve allotment, it must be, if you're reallocating money from one year to the next into a capital reserve fund, or any kind of reserve fund, it has to be approved by the voters.
Yeah.
And you don't need a number there, the amount?
I think that it's in there.
There's no number because you didn't give me a number, so.
No.
So this all came to so the audit hasn't been finished yet. It was literally entering the last numbers for the AP into the computer up until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then all of this information needed to be done for Linda before this meeting. And I have worked hard to try to get that done. But at this time, if we have holes in this warning, you know.
I mean, if you don't have
If
to put a
you
number.
can,
It
the
is
thing,
one-
No,
it is one of
we're
those
not,
things.
but there's an informational meeting.
Yeah.
What's that?
There'll be an informational meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's
Sounds good.
what, that's what I had said earlier to Kathy, is that anything, you know, that's what the informational meeting's for.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, sounds good.
that makes sense, yeah.
Okay, so Article 5.
And that's the library, that Kathy had just given me the numbers for that.
Wow, that's down 1,000 from,
So I think this, perhaps one of the pieces of paper over there has migrated from my papers so that I don't have the information that I need in front of me yet.
That's the one that you did.
Thank you.
so the library looks like it's,
So the library, balance after AP
oh, so they're looking at,
the balance after AP for this evening was $7,922.65. And if we put $5,000 into the capital reserve fund, that will leave a surplus operating fund line amount of $2,922.
okay,
So when we put that into the untaxed revenue,
right,
that brings down the ask of the
Right.
community.
okay. That's good.
Mhm.
Article 6?
But if you're doing those numbers before they're approved though, right?
Those numbers have not been approved by the trustees. They haven't looked at this again.
No, but I meant like the $5,000, that hasn't been approved to be put into so I would think you'd have to.
Oh,
say
by
it
the
in
voters, you're
budget.
saying? By the voters?
You're putting the horse before the cart.
That's true.
That's very true.
That's true.
So I would think you'd have to stay in the budget till after town meeting.
So that means the library numbers aren't correct?
Well, let's think this through.
Mhm.
Let's,
Well, you can't put it in the capital reserve fund because it hasn't been approved yet.
yeah, so what we could do is go back to the discussion was, you know, and I think it'd be pretty, we go back to the previous year, because we said the stretch goal was get to, we could be a level fund from last year. So maybe we make the for-year ballot, we go expenditures of $150,082.
And how about, this is my other thought, you know, nobody else puts how much is by taxes and non-tax revenues. If you just made it what it was, and it can be discussed at the informational meeting, what is tax and what is non-tax.
Sure.
Why does that need to be on the ballot and on the warning? It's a lot of extra words.
I think, yeah, it's a good point.
So,
Confusing.
this whole thing is confusing having all those words. I mean, when it's an open town meeting and things can be discussed, but on a ballot to have, I mean, I don't know. So we could make both of those articles simpler by just putting what the budget is and getting rid of the previous, you know, we can put just the previous year was and get rid of that tax and non-tax. I mean, it's up to you.
Well, I would suggest, like you said, we're gonna have an informational meeting. I suggest that article can become that, which is, we take the $150,082 from the previous year's expenditure, we bring it up to the proposed budget, and we take the tax, non-tax out.
Yep.
And if it comes up, it's a pretty good story to say, you know,
Yeah.
that we're level funded, so, right?
And what about the town, taking out the tax and non-tax there too?
I don't know, let me look. Tom, that makes sense?
Well,
We just go with what was spent last year, level fund, put that number there. So that we're not getting out ahead of the voters.
And you're gonna change that next line though? How
Yeah.
much is, this line, the next line? Yeah,
Yeah, what do you think? Just put that number there and take that out.
yeah, but you're gonna still leave the other part here.
Yeah, everything else is the same.
Yeah.
What about, do you wanna do previous year?
I don't think
Yeah,
you
let's-
changed previous year's stuff.
No, right here, what she's asking is, you wanna just go previous year expenditures, just go period? Like that, take this out?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense.
We do the same thing on the town. If you think, just go previous year, period, leave that for the informational meeting with somebody.
Mhm.
So I had a bit of an epiphany when I walked into the other room. The tax and non-tax measures, you don't know that answer until you know if they vote on the next one.
Right.
Okay, so we'll take those off on both the town and the library.
And do you want to keep the previous year in?
No, I
Yeah.
don't think so. Yes, I think previous year is reasonable. I mean, previous year,
Yeah,
It's a-
because for those other things, we don't know until actually, they're all
Right,
watching.
right. I guess I don't understand why you would change that number though, and make it,
well, why we would change that number?
right,
Because we haven't approved, the voters haven't approved the reallocation of the, you know, the capital fund and the $2,000 surplus. It's kind of getting out in front of the,
but it's less. That number is less than the 150.
true, but,
That's because of an assumption. It's not because of something that's already been decided.
It's the budget that they proposed, right?
Their budget is, is this? This is the previous year.
Oh, they didn't,
So again, I gave away my last
it'd
line.
be less, it wouldn't be the other way around. It'd be-
no, that's, the budget they, remember, the budget they approved was actually more than that,
I
and
have-
your advice to them was, hey, why don't you cut that out and you can go to the town meeting and say, we're gonna have a budget that
I'm
is
gonna-
the same as what you spent. I mean, our goal was a budget,
It'll take like 2 seconds, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I will go print it right now. This is stuff.
remember, Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
But if the voters turn down the actual, the capital fund, it's actually gonna be less. Cause you put that
I would
money
think in
towards.
that article, it should be put that they've got a $7,000 surplus. I mean, that's the
Right.
swinging of their, I mean, they won't find that out until they get to whatever article it was.
But yes, a lot of this, the tax and non-tax revenues depends on whether those reserve funds get funded or not, so.
Right.
I don't know. I think we don't wanna confuse.
I mean, cause I think if somebody's asking you about like the 5,000, like, right, they got a little over 7, right, left over?
I don't know, I don't do the financials.
I think it must be a little over 7.
Yeah.
Cause 5's going in the,
Well, they're hoping 5 for the reserve and then a couple, I don't know what they're doing with the other 2,000.
Going back into
That
the
goes back into.
budget.
yeah,
But I
it's
mean,
probably
I
less
think
than.
that should be in that Article 6 or somewhere, is that they, you know, what they got, that they're, maybe you don't need to, maybe just,
Well,
nobody's gonna know, if they don't come to a information meeting, they're not gonna know how much they got for a surplus. I mean, that's what the article, you're supposed to be giving them all the information that you can, I would think.
right, but until the audit is done, because if something needs to get moved.
Yeah, I
around-
think too much information. I
Yeah.
mean, because we'll give them the latest information on the night of the informational meeting, say, hey, this is what the audit turned up, this is what the surplus is. That's what I think, but,
I think the problem is the time constraints. We have to get this signed and out there. This has to be posted Sunday. at
yeah,
the
and that's
meeting.
why we're having an informational meeting. Because
Yeah.
this is, this is a reasonable template, it's saying that they're going forward with the same budget last year. And then we can say, oh, well, an audited result of the surplus is X, and therefore,
Yeah,
So the library fund budget, the total expenditures is $149,914.
Yeah. That's why I don't think I would change that number, because,
And that was revised from the time that they presented to us, because we did have a change in, I believe it was Beamer's retirement. Found out a little bit of a change there, and they revised one other thing to make it more accurate.
okay, well,
so, put it to, what's the number gonna be? One,
the same as it is, 149,914.
okay, well, I don't have that one anymore in front of me, so.
how come there, on surplus operating funds is 0 on this budget? That's for this year,
That's this year, because we haven't put that in there yet.
right? Okay.
Okay, so 6. Six is, as we discussed, right? Yeah.
Are we approving that Article 6,
With the language that's written on that article.
the way it's on the?
Yeah.
Seven's pretty straightforward. And all the rest of them, Fairfield Community Center, 15K, so that's, previous year was 18K. I guess we went through that, huh? That's, okay. Well, all the rest of them are
Cut and dry.
cut and dry. And anything else on Article 3 for that number? We're 100% sure that was the,
I'm 100% sure that $1,595,000 is correct.
okay, that was the number that we had.
I triple checked it.
Why would you wanna take that last sentence out? I just,
Of what?
Article 3.
I don't have a strong opinion either way.
I'm just thinking if I'm a taxpayer and looking at that, it'd be nice to know what last year's cost.
Yeah, no, the only thing we're proposing is was raised by taxes and was raised by non-tax.
We left last year's in.
What's that?
We left last year's in.
But we took out this year's for,
Yeah, this year's we took out.
and the assumption is that there will be enough people who come to the informational meeting so that they'll understand the tax and non-tax revenue.
Do you want to leave it in, Ron?
I'm confused. You just confused me. You took, what piece did you take out?
What was raised by tax and non-tax revenue this year of the,
The second line.
1595?
for both the town budget and the library. Took out the lines that said, so just show, previous year was this, and this, and then,
Yeah, I think I'm good here. This is the one.
What do you have to do?
okay.
Community center, nothing, or no, do you just do these?
So for some,
I just deliver commodity food
so
once a month.
it seems to me like,
What's
they
the
drop
reason
off
for taking
every
that second
second
sentence?
Friday,
She said
they
the
drop
second sentence,
off,
not the one you took.
like a can of food for people who are hungry,
She's got this year's.
and I
taken.
deliver to.
I took out this year's, not last
Not
year's.
last
I thought you wanted this year's, not last year's. taken off.
Drop it.
You what, to the community center?
I pick it up
What do you-
up there.
I took,
Yeah, no, I
The
understand.
weekend after.
this is, but it doesn't tell how much is gonna be tax and non-tax for either of them.
Spaghetti squash, I'd give them.
it seems to me like the voters would like to
Well, you
know
don't
how
need
much of this would be raised by taxes and how much would be raised by.
I mean, I know we
other
eat it,
sources.
Spoon's the only one that
Yeah.
eats it.
It's a
You don't need
significant
it.
amount of money,
Spaghetti squash
$500,000.
What is the non-tax revenue sources? Like grants?
That's right.
Like
Non-tax
state
revenue.
grants?
I don't
All
eat
the
anything that's
fees
nice.
that I get in
That's
the,
good for me.
No.
Really good.
my office fees.
Well,
So
okay,
it's,
here-
it's delinquent tax revenue,
I got a green one for
delinquent
this like
tax
this too.
You see
interest,
this?
delinquent tax penalties.
See how snazzy this is?
Yeah.
Look.
if you,
current use,
yeah, if it's just a matter of ink,
Huh?
and
Just
it's
put
just,
that
an
back
article,
in?
put it all in, we'll just,
But not the library, because we don't know the
Yeah.
library.
right, because we don't know
Alright,
library.
I mean, that's like.
And I don't think we have any questions on the last page.
maybe-
No,
We
shit.
don't have any last, I mean, we don't, have- so, we want to make you want a motion, or is that
Coming on and off, I'm just.
as revised,
as revised?
yeah.
Yeah, you guys can,
She's leaving all the information, like,
I'll bring it right back, the
Okay.
first page.
okay. She's gonna leave it in, so.
My baby took his first steps today.
I think Tom still had a question about the library though, with the surplus that they have today, right?
Well, we don't know that, I guess, till the
So-
audit's done.
We know, but we haven't, it hasn't been approved.
On his own, or just from the caregivers?
Look.
That's the way they do it.
And I missed it. Good thing they got on camera.
I don't know if you've got a copy of it.
He was in Florida.
This is the library fund and the numbers
So
after
cute. Look at him.
AP today, which would be
needs something a little better on his feet though,
Yeah,
although he's not
surplus.
slipping, but
No, those are,
those grippers on the bottom.
so-
they
And
will-
this
What are
is
they
the
called?
library fund as
Hospital
of last
socks?
year.
yeah, like hospital
Last
socks,
year's
those
library.
fancy ones,
See,
from
Last year's
Vermont, those
library.
like darn tough, or like those fancy ones. And they have little sticky things on the bottom.
there's quite
Well,
a difference
hey, he
in the
wasn't
taxable
slipping, but-
fund.
That's so, way out, most of the hours though.
I knew he was gonna walk while he was gone.
Previous year was 103,
So
this year it's gonna
annoying.
be 113.
They don't come home till 11:30.
Nice.
Yeah, they're at JFK now.
The library
JFK,
Oh,
Fort Lauderdale.
But that's that whole $11,000
Yeah.
thing that we talked about.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. My other kid
and that's
rented
why they
like
like to
an
be able to get
Airbnb
that
for a month and a
$5,000
half.
out of it. So
To
that they don't
escape the
have this
winter. She
situation
works from
every
home
year.
anyway,
Have to
so-
explain why.
So we only took the baby and went down for a long weekend.
But are you doing the taxpayer justification by not showing that?
We can't, because we don't know if they're going to approve the 5,000
Yeah.
or not. And by law, if we don't, if that doesn't pass, the money will go into their surplus operating. So it'll go into the
So the
surplus
taxes will
operating
be less.
fund, so the taxes will be less, so we won't know, again, we won't know.
Yeah.
It could be $3,000, it could be $7,000, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the final answer. Is that the one you guys are ready to sign?
Should I get the goodies?
What's that? Oh, let me go get the goodies.
I got it, I'm working, I'm sitting,
And the second page is as,
Yeah,
yeah,
nothing changed.
nothing
Yeah.
changed.
okay.
Um,
What, do you need a motion? Do you wanna-
I'm not sure if I need how that.
I make a
would-
motion that we approve the revised articles in preparation for the town informational meeting,
you know what I'm saying?
which will be held on
Sign
the
this one. On,
16th of February at 6 o'clock.
You just move to approve the.
Yeah, I heard it, thank you.
There's a copy. If you,
thank you, Tom.
I think I really need it. Who's second?
Above your name there, please, Brian.
Thank you.
Looks like Mike's put in these already.
I'm not done yet. Because they're very yummy.
It's that,
Tom seconded. Ron?
it's that
All those in favor?
Yates
Aye.
maple syrup that's in them, you know?
I made maple cookies yesterday, maple oat cookies. The recipe was terrible.
Is it me now?
It's you.
It's me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks for the yummies.
It sounds like we're gonna have some Lister discussion later. At another meeting. Okay,
One-
at another meeting.
One that isn't past my bedtime.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It is getting past our bedtimes. A couple things. We have a few CDs coming, approaching renewal. And I did, make one copy of them, and I thought it might be interesting for you to know, that the Lister reappraisal CD, is maturing on the 3rd of February. And, that, hold on, is coming as, we have an amount of $135,000 and $860 in there. We have a capital project CD, which is maturing in February also, and that is $188,411.
What's the term of those?
The original is the last renewal date, the maturity date, the term is 3 months.
3 months.
I'm giving you this information partially because of the presentation that we heard this morning, earlier this evening, and because I think it's important for you to know. we do have funding available, we have funds available if there are pieces of equipment or things that are coming up that seem needed or necessary, other than ARPA funds, so. Capital projects, we have an auto renewable certificate there coming in February as well. I just told you, $188,411. The paving CD is $65,463.
I'm sorry, 65.
$65,463.
Thank you.
The equipment CD, which would be the truck, is coming to maturity on the 3rd as well for $62,123. And the Lister reappraisal CD, did I do that one? Yeah, I did that one. So, we have a decision to make on the Freightliner. I do have a quote, we have a new quote that Mo gave me earlier today from Charlie Boyce for $155,650, which is pretty close to what it came to before. They said that we could save $1,455 if we decrease the warranty to 84 months instead of 84 months at 100,000 miles instead of 84 months at 150,000 miles. So we would save some money on that price tag if we decided to go on that route. And Mo told me that we average, when we trade in our trucks, we average about 70 to 80,000 miles at trade-in. So it may be worth doing that. And Susan at People's Bank told me that the interest rates for 48 and 60-month loans are 2.35% for 48 and 2.45 for 60 months if we decided to put $50,000 down, which is what we had originally discussed. So that's a lot in one mouthful. Did you have any questions about that? We don't have to make a decision right away, but we really do need to consider it soon, considering the maturity of that CD.
So the town truck, it went up, I thought it was supposed to be good for a while.
It's only a few dollars, so.
When I've added back in the numbers, it made it say Article 7 at the bottom of the page, and all of Article 7 was on the next page. This is why I rechecked it before I left, so please sign it again. This is why I hate doing stuff late at night. Sorry, just.
Those things are so yummy. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I agree.
You don't usually eat that stuff.
No, I don't.
Yeah, they're really good. Thank you.
I'm an addict. I better eat none of it.
Yeah, the thing is too, the recipe, it's a Chester's recipe, so it makes a half sheet pan. So you get. Good night.
Good night.
So the total unit, so the original price for the truck was $154,670. That's after the trade-in. And what I have in front of me is $155,650. So it went up a little, about $1,000. And
No other changes though?
there's no other changes. I think it's taxes are a little different, and they didn't list the dealer installed options on the updated retail order. So then they did say if we decided to decrease the warranty, then we would save some money, $1,000.
What's
That
the
1,000.
factory installed item, the ones you were talking about before?
Yeah, so this is all kind of a conversation, but it is the same document that we had before that I can, the vehicle configuration is the same. Engine equipment, I mean, it goes on and on, there's
Oh,
like
yeah,
4 or
yeah,
5 pages, actually 22 pages altogether, so.
But apples to apples, it's actually the same.
I mean, it's
would
pretty
think.
much the same, I wouldn't be able to guess where that,
How come the interest rate's so high? Thought municipal rates were supposed to be super low.
yeah, I don't know.
It's
I'm
plenty-
refinancing my mortgage at 2.5.
Yeah, so
I know it's getting a little late.
I did call her yesterday. A 48-month rate is 2.35 and a 60-month rate is 2.45.
Yeah.
A truck versus a home, maybe. That might,
Maybe.
You know,
And
something,
that's with a $50,000 down payment. So the loan would be less $50,000. So that's just something to consider. We do need to make a decision about,
let's go over the numbers on the warranty one more time. So the existing warranty is 150,000 miles, and the proposed, if we wanted to save $1,000, we go
100,000 miles.
100,000 miles, and we typically trade the trucks in at 80,000 miles.
that's right.
So you think it's a
80 to
reasonable thing to?
90,000, yeah.
Does, a warranty is transferable? So
Transferable
it
to
would
different-
make the resale value higher. For $1,000 that you're saving, the resale value may be $1,000 higher if you've got a longer warranty.
Yeah, I see
Maybe.
what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know,
That's outside of my level.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's a question.
Yeah, well, if we need to, I thought we already said lock in the truck.
Yeah,
So,
so we can lock in the truck, and the question becomes, do we want to take
no,
50,000?
no,
We already locked.
did
in
we
the
lock in the truck, or do we?
We locked it, we locked in the truck, we haven't signed and sent the paperwork back, but we are all set to get this truck.
Right,
And the CD matures, so if we do want to take $50,000 out of it, it'll leave,
But we're locked in not at the price that we locked in at. Which is
he
154.
locked into the more expensive one, because that's what they sent to us. It's 155, 650, but it hasn't been signed and sent back yet. They
Yeah.
said that they're all set to move it forward.
right.
So,
Well, notwithstanding any information about transfer of warranty, you know, for $1,000 on a 150, actually, that's with the trade-in, right? So it's like a $200,000 truck, right?
That's right.
So,
yeah,
I mean, I'd like to formally approve, if it's required, the revised price on the truck and get that off our agenda.
okay.
That,
I don't know why they won't stand behind their first quote. That was supposed to be good till, they didn't give us a date where it wasn't any good.
yeah, well, Mo's not here, so I mean, do you want to table it to the,
We can table it, but we do have to decide if we want to pull money from the CD for a deposit on this truck. So that does have to happen before the
How
next
much
meeting.
would be left in that CD?
So with the carryover, we're gonna be sending, hold on. Balance after the 60,000. So the balance, oh, no, hold on. So the balance after this evening's AP, sorry, my brain is getting tired. The balance after this evening's AP is, in the last year's, the calendar year 2021, is $33,160.12. So if we carry that over into the CD that we currently have, what we have in that CD is, $62,123. So if we added those two things together, that would give you the amount. We haven't done that yet because we haven't gotten through the warnings. But, yeah, that's where we would be. So if you took $50,000 out of that and then you added $33,000, you're gonna be in good shape still because you're gonna have a balance.
Why wouldn't you take the whole thing? The CD's probably paying
You can do
0.0.
whatever. I actually just said.
Oh, yeah,
It
definitely.
was just basically based on the conversations we've had at this table.
Okay, so just one more time. So in the equipment fund,
Mhm.
we have $61,000?
123, yeah.
Wait a minute, 60,123.
62,123,
Yeah.
62,123.
Yeah, let's take the balance of that CD and roll it to the truck.
Do you want the full
You're not making
amount?
any interest on it, so you. Is that?
What do you think, Tom?
So why is the hurry? I mean, why do we have to do it tonight?
So just the equipment CD matures on February 3rd.
And it's 3 months.
Actually, this one is 1 month.
One month's not gonna hurt us.
Yeah, we could probably wait.
Yeah, just roll it in another month and we can make that decision later, because you ain't gotta make that payment yet, right?
No,
Except, are they threatening delivery issues if we delay signing the paperwork?
that Mo didn't say that they were.
But if you
They
sign the
were when he
paperwork,
came here.
that doesn't have anything to do with the CD though.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with it.
That's true, but.
Okay, so
Because he said that when he was
I'll
here.
make a motion to do,
Who was it?
to sign
Charlie
it
guy.
and get the truck ordered
Okay.
with that little extra cost.
Well, I don't remember. his
Yeah,
name.
so
Sandy?
Ron made a motion. Ron made a motion.
To sign the invoice or the truck invoice, to get the truck on order at their cost. I know it's $1,000 more, 1,500, but in the big picture, that's peanuts really.
And did you want to do it at the same interest, the same warranty rate, or at a less warranty rate?
If the warranty can be transferred, I'd say take the whole warranty.
We don't really know that, but
Okay, we don't
I'd
have to
say,
do it yet.
okay, well, I'd second your motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
All right.
So, the library, so there are 2 installments due in February. One is the first payment on the Freightliner loan, the 2021 Freightliner, and the library mortgage is due. So if you could make a motion to pay the installment due in February on the Freightliner in the amount of $31,238 from the equipment debt retirement and interest lines of the general fund, that would cover that payment.
Yeah, that's a,
Does that seem, would you like that motion?
Sure,
you
yeah,
gotta
sure.
make the payment, I make the motion.
Yeah, you make the motion, you second it, okay?
All those in favor?
All right.
The library trustees requested that they moved to authorize me as to request $32,168.86 to be released from the Charles Schwab Library investment account to the People's Trust Company in order to pay their mortgage for this year. So I am just bringing that to you as informational. I'm not sure at this point if you need to also approve that transfer of funds, but on their end, they've done that, and it would be something that you could do as well, because it's a large transfer of funds.
I make the motion.
Okay. And, yeah, okay. Second,
I'll second it.
to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, you gotta pay the mortgage.
Gotta pay the mortgage.
Well, I can say it's new, we've never done it.
Never.
They've always done their own thing before, so I don't know why they're asking for us now.
So I'm asking because I think that it's important for us to be in the same on the same page with them. They're working on their processes, and they actually hadn't authorized anybody to do this before. Amanda had come in and done it when it was due, but I thought that just for transparency, having,
Well, it's probably in accordance with what,
yeah,
you know,
having,
what we were asked, you know, we asked them to,
yeah.
so that's means a manifestation of,
Yeah, so they're working on getting their processes and procedures together, and so this is just me following through on their request. So if you want to make a motion to move the Charles Schwab investment account.
I did, I motioned,
Okay.
Ron
Is that
seconded.
done?
And it's all
Yeah.
done, okay, great, thank you. So at the end of the year, all the W-2s, that was a whole new process for me. We got those all finished, I worked those all through, and there were some retirement coding issues that took place, that started last February, that took quite a long time to resolve, but we did resolve it with the support of NEMRIC. I have changed a couple things with them so that it won't happen in the future, and I just want you to know that through this process that took quite a long time, I've learned that there are some things that we should probably be doing in NEMRIC that we're not doing, and I'm planning on proposing to you some training so that I can be a little bit more attentive to some of the things that we can't go through that again. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Everything worked out, but it is something that took place that I thought you should know. And similarly, the IRS excise tax issue that I brought up at the last meeting, I did talk to the auditors about, and have put in a call to the claims person. I went through
Claims person at the IRS?
at the IRS, and I went through all of the filing cabinet, every file, and found in the back it was a form that requested documentation dated in August. So that's where we slipped up, and I'm hoping that we can just negotiate a new timeline and provide the required documents to them and have it go in the right direction. But I am waiting on her. And I'm pulling those documents, and hopefully I'm gonna send them, hopefully we'll be able to be resolved. Also, just following up on the last meeting, the insurance questions that you had asked, I'm still waiting on a response. I did do a detailed transaction report, which is somewhere in this file now. Hold on a second. And that line of 70,000 from last year includes both workers' comp and the package premium for all of the buildings. So we paid, the total of $66,371 included both of those things, workers' comp and the package premium. So I have questions, that's why when I asked them if we were covered for the common school, they were asking me about background checks and things like that because it includes workers' comp. And so that's just sort of two different things in one pocket of funding. So the workers' comp was $29,984 in January, and then another $7,307 in.
Now, those are actuals,
May.
but that's not to be confused with the quote going forward for next year,
That's not to be confused for going forward.
right?
But I just thought it might be helpful.
So what you're saying is, so 29,000 workers' comp, and then the balance is property and casualty, is that?
Yeah, so we have $29,984 was workers' comp, plus $7,307. And then the package premium was another another $28,604. So it was, I just thought it was interesting. It's important for you to know that those two things are in that one line.
Yeah, it's like 36,000 in workers' comp.
Yeah,
What's the package premium again? What's that?
that's all of the buildings, the insurance liability on the buildings.
Yeah.
So it would be, I mean, as we move forward, I'll give you more information about each of those areas. I've requested bids for the next year. I've also, in two different vendors, so those are the things that we're looking at right now. And I'm still waiting. And I think the only, I mean, there's just always, there's so much going on with all of the I mean, the audit is still happening. We still have numbers that are outstanding because of the AP. Still pulling things, still putting things away, making sure that all of our documents are accurate. I have 2 more reports to do by Wednesday. So, you know, I did come in on Sunday to get things done, hoping to take Friday off, but there's just a lot. It's just a lot right now. And I think we're in good shape when it comes right down to it. I mean, every single thing that they've requested, we've been able to give them. I think the hardest thing has been not knowing the whole story of the year and trying to pull it from the files and the documents and the numbers, so that when they ask me for a summary, it's like chugging along to learn in order to teach, you know, it's not.
That's kind of expected this year.
Yeah, so it's been a little tricky, but I think we're doing pretty good. I'll be interested in seeing it come to an end and hear what they have to say, but we have really good people working on it, so. I think.
Next year definitely be a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I have a bit of a brain fuzz today, I think. Tyler Mumley Engineering. He has a request for you. He'd like to know, he has a list of, so firstly, he sends his apologies for not coming in, but also he has not put the bids out yet. The bid documents are not complete. He said the delay has been getting hold of John Kroc to get information about he has some excuses.
About what? The FEMA, the historic preservation?
Historic preservation piece. And now he said that he said that the bid documents will be fully updated and complete tomorrow. And he's gonna get it advertised in local papers, but really, there's a list of potential contractors that he wants to notify, that he would like him to tell you about, and to see if you approve of us notifying them. Hello?
So what happened to the 1st of January being done?
No good excuse that I can tell. I mean, I brought the whole correspondence.
Well, so the thing that got my attention is he's asking whether we want, what was the ask?
So, yeah, the one ask for us is, he has a list of potential contractors that we can notify via email. He wants to notify via email about the bid.
Yeah, sounds good.
And he wonders if everybody is on here that you wanted to reach out to, and if there's anybody that you don't want to reach out to.
We have to advertise it.
The advertisement will go in the local paper and VermontBusinessRegistry.com.
Could you hand me the?
You probably can do that legally, actually. Give
Yes.
those bidders a head start on it, basically, that's what he's doing. But
Well, you can ask them, just say, hey, this is going out to bid, but that is to publicly available.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, have Dave take a look at that list, but yeah.
Yeah, good to go, okay. So, the only other thing is that I went to the library trustees meeting, and they had, a conversation about their investment, the investment account, with their person, what's his name?
Yeah, it's all right.
And they asked the question that you asked to him, which was, why don't we pay off the mortgage? Why not pay off the mortgage? And he said, David Poole, excuse me, he said that the earnings potential would go down from 50,000 to 47,000.
Nobody knows that. Yeah, nobody knows that. I mean, look at this,
The earnings exceed 2.6%, which is the current mortgage rate. And over 12 years, the average annual gain has been 10.09%.
That's a typical salesman.
And the annualized portfolio performance net, he feels it would just make sense to keep it going the way it is.
So
He did
that keeps the money,
provide,
he keeps the money, yeah.
he did provide the current allocation and some paperwork for what he was talking about, if you'd like to look at it.
yeah, I would, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you went to that meeting.
Yeah. And it was interesting, and it was good to, I think, so they are in agreement at this time, just as the trustees, they're in agreement that they would like to work forward toward a plan where a chunk of the money that they would be using for their mortgage, once the mortgage is paid off, would go toward alleviating the ask of the taxpayers. So they're in the same, if they're in line with you on that, I thought you should know. And I also, and they're going to be working on their procedures. So that's another piece of the work that they are geared up to do. Yeah, I think.
That's gonna be made as 10% today.
I think that was reassuring.
Well, yeah.
So I think that's it.
Did, in that conversation, I think that's great, thanks for the update on it. Did this come up with
So
him?
that's what they're, well, not with him. They discussed how, when I was saying that they approved me as an authorized agent to request the release of that funding for the mortgage, when they approved me to do that, that was based on their conversation with him and the suggestion of the select board to create a process or to document their processes and procedures for how they manage their money and how we manage the money together. So
Yeah.
we want to become more in line in how we operate.
Yeah, and as far as like their mix for the mortgage and returns,
Yeah.
that's kind of their, I don't want to seem like I'm criticizing, but as we can see in the last week, it's, but, they've got a good track record. This is all gonna come to an end in 2027, the mortgage is gonna be paid.
Yeah.
So this question, I'm glad they're starting to think about it. And, I think it's reasonable that, all the history will, when the mortgage is paid, it's gonna be inevitable, so.
At some point in this discussion, there's a sort of I want to say irreconcilable difference between this is my take on it, between the way the library sees this investment account and the way they think you are seeing the investment account. I think they have a perception that the way this investment account is just theirs, but as they're looking at how we operate.
Yeah, you know what, we should leave that for a discussion with them. You don't have
We stirred
to,
the pot this summer when things calm down, we're all gonna get together and.
yes, yeah,
And I just want you to know that they're in line with that, they want to do that, so.
Yeah,
it's-
good,
it's a good.
good.
it's a
Yeah, I think we got to, you know what, by working out that article,
Mhm.
notwithstanding the, you know, the larger question of the mortgage and the endowment,
Yeah.
I think we got to compromise on the article. I think they feel good, and, you know, we'll keep talking.
Yeah.
So, they do a great job. I know they're gonna have a race for the trustee position. There's 2 people I know that are running, so it'll be
Really?
3.
Wow.
Well, I know
that's
there's 2,
impressive.
so,
Yeah, so they're happy about that.
yeah, that's showing some vibrancy. That's good.
I did say, David, that I know that you look really carefully at these, but there were some things in the most recent payroll that needed to be rectified. And I emailed, one of them was that, which was a NEMRIC issue that I have had some issues with NEMRIC lately, and that was one of them. It had to do with how comp time was calculating on the back end of the equipment. And I talked to NEMRIC, and I'm getting trained on that. The other thing is, there was a payment to retirement payments to one of our employees that needed to be reimbursed to him because it should not have come out of his paycheck. And there was one other thing that I can't remember, but it's in the email that's on the top there. I think that's it.
Cool.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope I made some sense tonight.
No, not at all. It's great.
I'm a little tired.
My turn?
Yep.
You're fine with this letter for the select board, for the town report? Yeah?
Yeah, I thought you did a nice job.
Okay.
I was impressed.
You didn't?
Okay with them.
Okay, good. Swamp Road, there's an accessory dwelling going into Swamp Road, and it requires a road name change. And that name is hold on. It's at 472 Swamp, Sunny Hollow, they want to call it. Does anyone care?
Sounds cool. Sounds good.
472, 474, and 476.
It's gonna be a private road or a
No, it's private. Where Tim Abbott used to live, you know where that is?
partway up, right, on the right?
Partway up on the right, yeah.
Above.
Goes straight up. So it was where Abbott was. Anybody else know where that is? No? There's like a greenhouse barn down by the road where he used to keep his fancy cows. You know where I'm talking? No, anyways, it goes straight up, and there's the daughter of the Bonds is building a house. And so because there's 3, E911 requires it to have its own name. Road standards doesn't kick in till 4, so they don't have to improve the road. But they want to change it to Sunny Hollow, private road. Fine?
It's their road, I guess they
It
could.
doesn't say that again about upgrading the road.
Only 4 houses, it has to have 4 houses before it upgrades, has to upgrade to fancy road standard.
Are they building are they adding a house to it?
They're adding a house. And the place where they're adding the house is actually more accessible than the 2 originals, but
So we
can't force them by our current road standards to upgrade the road unless they have 4 houses and they have 3.
Gotcha.
Also,
I mean, I guess you might just mention to them, about access for the fire department, that's all,
okay,
just give them a heads up, if
their houses are,
maybe not accessible to the fire department.
well, the new
Because-
house will be, but the old ones, the driveway in the winter is,
Yeah.
is rough.
They all are.
personally, huh?
They all are.
Yeah, no, it's not as bad as the new one on Hill Road, but, and then, Governor Scott signed into law Act 38 that changes my authority as a town health officer. We used to be able to conduct animal cruelty investigations. So when somebody had a dog complaint, Kristen Willent would get called and I always went with her. We went together because it was safer.
Right, we had said that was the last incident.
The last one, well, David doesn't want me going as a health officer by myself anywhere, so my last inspection, he came with me. But animal ones, Kristen, I never let Kristen go by herself because she's kind of a gentle human, and I wouldn't want someone to bite her. The people more than the dogs, obviously. Anyways, so they've just recently changed the law that says now, town health officers are no longer categorized as humane officers unless they are otherwise employed by a humane society or appointed by a municipality to perform the duties and functions of a humane officer and have completed the trainings as required. Complaints or reports of potential animal cruelty received by a town health officer should be referred to a humane officer such as sheriff, deputy sheriff, constable, police officer, state's attorney, state game warden, or state police. Or they can be referred to the animal control officer for the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. The town health officer manual will be updated. Humane officers and health officers can no longer report to animal cruelty unless they've had specific training. So that's an FYI. The state police used to, if someone called the state police about an animal issue, they would say, call Melissa. And Melissa would say, call the state police, I'm not allowed to do that. Well, now I'm really not allowed to. So, just so you know.
So now, how do you do it?
So now the state police have been directed that they have to do it. Or a game warden, state police, game warden, sheriff, deputy sheriff,
So
constable,
if you got a
police
call, you
officer.
just call the state police about it then?
I would not. I would tell them to call the state police. I would stay out of it because I have not had
The training?
the training to be a humane animal person.
And then what's the training involved where you don't know yet?
I don't know, they didn't include that. I mean, I could go to it.
It's gonna be more in depth. If you can stay out of it, it's better.
Yeah,
That's-
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not our specialty, that is a can of worms we don't want to be in.
I would agree with you. Animal ones, especially since it's my strong belief that it's always the human. So it's better for me not to go to those because I'm more likely to bite the person than the dog. That's all I have on my list.
Anything else? Dave? So the two issues that I had, the tax issue is she's waiting to hear back from the people, and the other thing is Mumley, and he's big excuses.
But we're answering his question, yeah.
And I guess next time he wants to check, we'll hold it. Okay, I'll make a motion.
I got a couple,
We gotta approve the
Minutes and
minutes.
warrants.
Anybody?
I got a couple things. So Ron and I did the Efficiency Vermont, we're not gonna act on it, but this is the report that was, you got a copy, Ron?
Yeah.
It's, I don't even wanna talk about it tonight, it's too late. It was worthwhile, there's not a pot of gold, but there is some funding that could be available. And we should put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And I did some research on we're gonna talk about this in February, but just if anyone asks, ARPA says, really clear, water, sewer, broadband, stormwater. And then there's kind of a list, so there's just a scope, just to scope it, it's really pretty tight. And, you know, when we look at our roads that were highly erodible, that came up from the Northwest Regional Planning, you know, there's 96 roads that are, you know, for stormwater containment. And then there's another 25 that are very high priority segments. And road surface and conduits, and there's a lot of stuff that can, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that would qualify, like, from what was already identified, just as a, so that's the only two things I had. And we'll talk about that in February.
And I just want to invite anybody, any of you, if you ever want to swing in and find out what's happening on a day-to-day basis in my office, feel free to. There's a lot going on all the time. So I just want you to know that I have an open door, and you can do that if you want to.
Thank you. Do we make a motion to approve the minutes?
Yep.
Second it.
Any errors, omissions, or comments on them?
Nope.
All those in favor?
All right.
Approval of the warrants,
I'll make a motion to approve them.
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Anything else?